It started like any other investigation, a quiet town, a rural landscape, and a mystery buried beneath the ground. But what the team of scientists discovered wasn't just a sinkhole, it was a voice. A voice that whispered names, echoed thoughts, and remembered the living. As they ventured deeper, the earth itself seemed alive, watching, learning, waiting. Tonight, we follow their descent into the unknown, where the ground remembers, and the shadows speak. Welcome to a story of suspense, science, and terror. Welcome to the whispers beneath. It started like any other investigation. A team of geologists and spelunkers, experts who spent their lives chasing the Earth's secrets, arrived in a rural town in northern Arkansas. The locals called it a quiet place, the kind of town where the most exciting thing was a sudden storm rolling over the ridges. But what drew the team wasn't the weather, it was the ground itself. Sinkholes had been appearing along the edges of farmland, swallowing trees, fences, even entire barns. The earth was opening up, and no one knew why. Dr. Evelyn Hart led the team. A geophysicist renowned for chasing anomalies others deemed impossible, she could stare into a data set for hours and emerge with details no one else noticed. With her were Sam, a seasoned caver who had survived more than one near-death experience underground, Lena, a geotechnical engineer who read rock formations like maps, and Paul, an acoustic specialist who had developed a theory about subsonic vibrations in subterranean cavities. Together, they were drawn not just by curiosity, but by the unnerving reports from the town, reports that hinted at something impossible. The first sinkhole seemed routine. A shallow depression had appeared overnight near an old farmstead. The team set up ground-penetrating radar, seismographs, and acoustic sensors. They mapped the cavity, measured soil stability, and documented everything. By daylight, it looked like any ordinary collapse. Then Paul adjusted one of his acoustic receivers. "I'm picking up something," he said. The waveform wasn't random. It had structure, almost like speech. Evelyn leaned over. "Speech? In a sinkhole?" "Maybe wind," Paul said. "Maybe it's interference." Sam shook his head. "No, it's not wind. I've been in enough caves to know the difference. There's something down there." The first night, the team camped near the sinkhole. The town was silent, too silent. Crickets, frogs, a distant fox, nothing unusual. Around midnight, Paul wandered near the edge, unable to sleep. At first, it was faint. A whisper, almost lost in the hum of the night. "Evelyn." His skin crawled. He wasn't calling anyone, he was alone. Then again, soft and deliberate. "Sam." Paul stumbled back to the tent. By morning, everyone had heard it. A low murmur rose from the sinkhole, faint but distinct. At first, they chalked it up to wind or trapped animals. But as the days went on, the murmurs became coherent, calling names, sometimes their own, sometimes those of townspeople none of them had met. They tried recording the voices on multiple devices. Every playback confirmed it, structured whispers, echoing from below, naming the living. They joked nervously at first. But jokes didn't last. On the third day, Sam insisted on descending. "If we want to understand this," he said, "we need to get closer." Evelyn protested. "It's unstable. We don't know what's down there." But the voices called to them, impossible to ignore. Even Lena, logical and unflinching, admitted that she was unsettled. The team prepared. The sinkhole was wider than it appeared, framed by cracked soil and dangling roots. Sam led the descent, rope secured to a sturdy oak. Paul followed with acoustic equipment. Lena carried geological sensors. Evelyn stayed at the rim, documenting. Inside, the air grew cool, heavy. The walls glistened with clay and moss. The voices rose, whispering names, growing clearer with each step. Sam stopped. "Do you hear that?" It was no longer a whisper. A low hum, vibrating through their bones, emanated from deeper than they could see. Paul's monitors spiked. Paul. The voice was unmistakable. It said his name. The cavern widened, jagged stalactites hanging like broken teeth. The voices formed fragments of sentences, warning, pleading, mocking. Don't go further, you'll regret, we see you, beneath the ground. Sleep became impossible. Outside, near the rim, the whispers seeped into their dreams. Some woke recalling conversations they had no memory of. The voices mirrored their thoughts. Evelyn analyzed the recordings. Beneath the whispers, she found a rhythm, a deep pulsing frequency. Not biological. Not from any known creature. It seemed alive, resonating from the cavern's core. They descended further, ropes and lanterns swinging. The walls narrowed, temperatures dropped. The voices, now forming full sentences, responded to their thoughts. You shouldn't be here. We remember you. We're waiting. Paul's lantern flickered and fell. The echo reverberated for minutes. When it settled, the cavern felt changed. Paths they remembered were blocked. The voices chanted names faster, sharper. Shadows moved, indistinct, fleeting figures slipping behind jagged rock. They clawed their way back to the rim. Dawn broke over the town. The ground around the sinkhole was scarred, fissures snaking outward. Even from a safe distance, the voices lingered, faint but insistent, calling names in the wind. Evelyn insisted they leave. But the recordings were undeniable, anomalous voice patterns embedded in air and rock, responding to thought, echoing the living. The town offered its own warnings. Farmers reported animals refusing to approach the sinkholes, livestock found dead in deliberate patterns. Children spoke of the ground talking at night. By the end of the first week, the team was fractured. Some wanted to leave immediately, fearing the voices were conscious. Others, including Evelyn, were obsessed. Then Lena disappeared. Near the orchard, she walked toward the edge and vanished. No body. No trace. Just silence. That night, her voice emerged from the sinkhole, clear, deliberate, calling them back. Evelyn realized then that this wasn't natural, nor just acoustic. The earth beneath them remembered. It learned. It had names. And it was waiting. They left with evidence, recordings, and theories. But none offered solace. Weeks later, townspeople reported faint whispers from newly forming sinkholes, voices calling names, even names of the living. And sometimes, when the wind shifts just right, when the ground trembles beneath your feet, you might hear them too. The sound beneath doesn't forget. It waits. It's always listening.